back to Miss Cindy's Kitchen. Tonight, I start with an open cabinet. I'm going to show you how to make another version of macaroni and cheese on the stove. And last week I had found this cheese at grocery outlet. It was $1.99 for Tillamook, or Orlando Lakes actually. Yep, the previous one was Tillamook. Anyway, sharp cheddar cheese is really good to make cheese sauces and casseroles because it has a lot of flavor. So that inspired me to look up macaroni and cheese when I first found the sharp cheddar. And for $1.99 for a really good brand of cheese, for 8 ounces, that's a really good deal. So I got 2 bags of this because this recipe calls for 4.5 cups of cheese total. So I got 2 bags of the sharp cheddar and some yellow sharp cheddar for contrast, which after we make the casserole part of the macaroni and cheese, we'll put this on top to melt as it bakes in the oven. So what we're gonna do first is, most important thing, turning the stove on. That helps it cook.
Yeah.
And this is actually from the Dairy Council. This is half a stick of butter. So you're going to use 1 stick of butter divided. That means you're going to use half in one part of a recipe and the other half in another part of the recipe. So that's why you've got to read through your recipe before you make it, so you don't use it all up in one step and then realize, oops, I forgot the other part. So this is going to go into the topping with the breadcrumbs. So we're going to set that aside. And now that the butter is starting to soften, we're going to add in 1 whole onion chopped. This is just a yellow onion, nothing fancy. So we're going to saute that. And I'm going to use this nice spoon because it's silicone tipped. It's always good to use silicone or plastic tools when you have non-stick. And temperature's a little high. And we have Dahlia clinging to us. We have a storm coming through our area, and Hurricane Hillary is supposed to be off the coast of Baja, California, and it's supposed to get a hurricane in Los Angeles, which is 100 miles south of us, across a mountain range, because we live in this South Central Valley. I can't imagine a desert landlocked community getting a hurricane, but then again, this year has been so downright crazy, I wouldn't be surprised if aliens and dragons are in the forecast.
And so, just to let you know, just in case the power goes out and the lights go out, we do have a backup for flashlights that we will use to finish the episode. But for now, we're good.
Yeah. So, we're going to let the onions soften. And once they are softened, we're going to make a roux, which is a cream sauce out of like a 1/4 cup of flour, and then to that we're going to add in the spices, which is some, I'm going to use garlic salt and black pepper and cayenne because that gives it a little bit of flavor. Not a lot, just enough. And then that's going to go in, and then once that thickens up, we're going to add in 4 cups of whole milk that I've warmed up in the microwave just to take the chill off. And the original recipe calls for 2 cups of half and half and 2 cups of whole milk. Well, for me it was easier just to use 4 cups of whole milk. You can use the richer milk, half and half. It's pretty fluid, no pun intended. You can do whatever suits your family, suits your budget, suits what you have on hand. And because I have this huge jar of garlic, and we love garlic, and my spoon disappeared. I have no idea. I had a nice spoon out here, but nope, it ran away. So I'm going to add in some garlic.
About how much is that?
I would say probably about 2 tablespoons of minced garlic. It adds a lot of flavor. So, and when you're cooking with cheese, you want to use cheese that is classified as sharp. And if that is too robust for you, use medium. But it just has more flavor. Mild cheddar is good for grilled cheese and all, but if you're going to cook with it, I would recommend sharp cheese. And I think that the sharp white cheddar has more of a bite to it. Like a sharper taste, kind of more like Swiss. So I'm going to put in some garlic salt. It's just eyeballing it to taste. You have to realize that macaroni is kind of bland. So we can do...
So what would you say that was, about a tablespoon of garlic salt?
Probably about a teaspoon.
Teaspoon?
And I had black pepper out here and it has walked off. I think I didn't put it out to begin with.
That's probably why you had the cabinet open.
Probably. Some black pepper, probably about a half a teaspoon. And a little bit of cayenne. We don't want to add a lot. Just, you know, a few good shakes. Probably about a half a teaspoon. If you like a little kick in your meal, you can have a little more. This adds some nice color. And now that the onion and garlic is soft, I'm going to add in a little bit of flour. The recipe calls for a 1/4 cup. I'm just going to eyeball it and sprinkle that in. And let me just double check. Yeah, 1/4 cup of flour. So as you see, it's starting to bind up the butter and onion mixture. See that?
Oh, wow.
It's tightened up. Got a little clumpy. And prior to starting this, I already got the macaroni water on to cook. So in here we have 4 cups of whole milk. And when you're making a cream sauce, formerly called a roux, you want to just do it a little bit at a time. Let the sauce thicken up a little bit. See? Let it thicken up. And then as it thickens up, you add in a little bit more. It's kind of the same principle as making gravy. You add the flour to your fat and stir, and then add in the milk. This is making the cream sauce for the macaroni and cheese sauce. So this takes a few minutes. So while we go ahead and get the sauce, the milk added to the sauce, we'll put you on hold and we'll bring you back when we're ready to add the cheese. So now we have added all 4 cups of the whole milk to the sauce. So, and then we're adding in 2 teaspoons of Worcestershire sauce. I'm just gonna eyeball it.
Bloop, bloop, bloop.
Bloop, bloop, bloop. As you can tell, it's about time to get another bottle.
We actually use Worcestershire sauce.
It's good for casseroles and sauces. And then we're gonna put in 2 teaspoons of Dijon mustard. Just a couple long squirts. Alright. And then it says to remove from the heat, so we're just gonna turn off the stove. And we're going to add in 1.5 bags of this this white sharp cheddar cheese. So, I'm going to put that in there. Just dump it in. It calls for 3.5 cups of cheese in the sauce.
Ooh.
And another cup on top. So I'm going to use most of this, but not all. And that's going to go on top of the casserole. So sit back a little bit for decoration. So a little bit more. You just need a half cup to go on top. So look at that. It's gonna have to melt because the shreds are kind of thick. But look at how rich and cheesy it is already. We made this the other night. Oh my gosh, it is so good. So the sauce has to come together a little bit. The noodles are cooking. And the next step after we assemble the macaroni sauce and the noodles, we're going to saute the breadcrumbs. This is 1 1/3 cups of breadcrumbs in the last 1/4 cup of butter. So, and here in Southern California, we have a brand of bread called Bimbo. And this is the breadcrumbs. These are really good. They're a very toasty breadcrumb. Because some of the other breadcrumbs would be kind of flavorless, I think.
That is true.
That is true. So, the sauce is ready. And let me check the noodles. See if they're ready. You want to have them be cooked, but slightly al dente. I'm going to dump one onto the counter to see if it is soft enough. And because it's if you can't cut it with the spoon, it's not soft enough. So give us a few minutes and then we'll bring you back and show you what the casserole looks like as it's being assembled. And we're back. And we have now gotten the macaroni noodles all the way cooked and drained. And then we put them directly into the 9x13 pan. Now we are going to add the finished sauce to the noodles. It sat a little bit, so I'm just going to stir it up real quick. And one of the benefits of this being a non-stick pot, you can see it just slips right off the pot. I know it sounds bad, but anyway. Let me go ahead and put this in there. I'm gonna need a little elbow room to put it in the pot here. Alright, let me use this to scrape it out and then you can get a good long look at it. Look at all the yumminess in here. Alright. So, whoops. Now that we got that ear splitting noise here. So we're going to stir in the noodles and the sauce. And Dahlia is just watching with rapt attention and licking her chops. She wants some macaroni and cheese too. So we're going to get this all mixed in. And the next thing we're going to do is put on the cheese and the breadcrumbs. But first we need to saute the breadcrumbs. So, I'm going to use the same pot. Didn't mean to make an ear-splitting noise, but... So, I'm going to get all the butter off of there. These breadcrumbs toasted in butter are so good. It just totally takes it up a notch. As far as flavor. Because not only are the breadcrumbs themselves toasted, they're going to get toasted in butter before going on the casserole. So I'm going to melt the butter. And I'm using the same pot just to save dishes and sanity in my part. So I'm going to add in 1 1/3 cups of dry breadcrumbs. You can use fresh or you can use dry. Whatever you have on hand is fine. Like I always say, don't overthink it, it's just dinner. Find what works and just get cooking. So, the butter's a little clumpy because I didn't let it melt all the way before adding the breadcrumbs. But that's okay. It'll all work out. I think what I'm going to do is use the whisk. Anytime you use a non-stick pot, you need to use plastic or silicone tools so it doesn't tear up the surface. So this has helped breaking up the breadcrumbs. See? Yummy, yummy, yummy. And it's just going to go in a 400-degree oven for about 15 to 20 minutes just to melt the cheese and set the breadcrumbs a little bit. So these are nice and toasted. So I'm going to turn the heat down so it can just finish toasting while we put the cheese on the casserole. This is the yummiest macaroni and cheese recipe. I think I even like it better than the one I made last summer, which had Velveeta in it. So I'm going to sprinkle some cheese on here, some of the yellow cheddar. Make it a nice color contrast. There. Doesn't that look delicious?
It does look good.
And then we're going to sprinkle the breadcrumbs on top of that. So I'm going to turn the heat off on there. That looks delicious. So I'm going to use a spoon to sprinkle the breadcrumbs on. Yeah, probably a smaller spoon might be better, but Dahlia is digging the crumbs that are falling. Whoops. My tired hands drop things sometimes. Alright. So look at that. Gonna rub the breadcrumbs into the cheese. And then we're gonna put it in the oven at 400. And that will get the breadcrumbs to set and make a nice topping. And I'll try not to screech the pan on the burner plate. That just looks so yummy. Alright, and then we're going to add just a smidge of parsley. We're supposed to have fresh parsley, but I got the powdered stuff. And I don't think the holes are big enough to let parsley out. Sounds like you're letting a person out. So, just a sprinkle, just to give it some color. And now it's going to cook in the 400 oven for about 15 to 20 minutes. Dahlia, scooch. Hot stuff. Alright, so 400 degrees. Gonna set our timer. I'll set it for 20. And start. Our microwave is defunct, but it works as a timer, so. Anyway, we will bring you back and show you the yumminess when it comes out of the oven. And our macaroni and cheese has baked for 20 minutes. Just to get all the melty goodness on the cheese and the toppings.
Oh my gosh.
Doesn't that look yummy? Yummy, yummy, yummy.
Wow, it's still bubbling too.
Yeah. So, what we're gonna do is pot holder got stuck. We're going to let it sit for probably about 20 minutes because it's piping hot. Eager mouths will get burnt. So we're gonna let this sit and then we'll bring you back and show you the taste test. Alright, and we're back and the macaroni and cheese is cooled off enough to eat it without it being the temperature of molten lava. So, let it cool off for just a sec. Look at that nice yumminess.
Oh my gosh.
So we're going to need a spoon or something to eat with. So Logan, you can hold on to that.
Thank you.
I'm going to scoop up the other bowl. So
Hey, Logan.
Yep. Be blowing it first so I don't burn my mouth.
Yep. So your eye's going to roll back in your head. Food coma.
That is good. Still very hot.
Yeah.
But it is delicious. Baked mac and cheese is always good.
Yeah.
Yep. So anyway, thank you again for joining us, and make sure you like and subscribe and share to your friends and give us your feedback, and join us again soon.
Thank you for watching Miss Cindy's Kitchen. To get more recipes like this one, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell for notifications when new videos are uploaded. Share it out to your friends, family, neighbors, and leave us a comment to let us know how this recipe worked for you. And don't forget to hit that like button. Again, thank you for watching Miss Cindy's Kitchen.